Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Uncle Mad here, live with the WWE Elimination Chamber preview. And man, I gotta say, I just finished SmackDown a little bit ago. That's why I was a little bit late starting the show. I am stunned by how good WWE has been lately. I was actually just texting with a friend the other day. It's unbelievable what a corner they've turned from where they were a year ago today. And tonight's SmackDown really kind of showed that because it kind of laid out the whole year plus long storyline we've seen with Sami Zayn and where he goes from WrestleMania last year being in a kind of comedy throwaway goofy match losing to Johnny Knoxville to now he's honestly the hottest thing in the company right now. It's crazy, and he's got the match of a lifetime, the opportunity of a lifetime tomorrow night in his hometown, Montreal Elimination Chamber, WWE Universal Undisputed, whatever they're calling it now. Heavyweight title match, him and Roman Reigns. We'll get to that in a second, but let's just go through the card. Let's break it down. Let's give the previews, give the predictions for everything that's going on. I'm just stunned watching SmackDown, like where WWE has got to at this point in time. Like Sami Zayn's promo to end SmackDown tonight was like incredible all-time promo in his hometown. All right, so we've got 5 matches on the card, which seems a little low for a WWE live event spectacular, whatever they're calling them these days. But the 2 Elimination Chamber matches will probably get quite a bit of time, so they'll take up a little bit of time. First one I'm seeing listed here, we've got the Elimination Chamber match for the WWE United States Championship. I like that they're doing that match in the chamber because it kind of elevates that title, makes it seem more important. For a long time, the Intercontinental and U.S. titles got shifted to the side and just sometimes weren't even featured on pay-per-views and shows half the time. So to have like not only them be kind of featured, but to have like a big match like an Elimination Chamber match for that title is pretty exciting. We saw Gunther's doing great things with the Intercontinental title. Saw him defend that against Madcap Moss tonight. He could be in line for a big match at WrestleMania, you would think. Actually, I'll talk about that real quick. SmackDown tonight, Bray Wyatt kind of called his shot and said he's going to face the winner of Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. So I can see whoever loses that match then going on to face Gunther. That would make a lot of sense, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. Anyway, back to Elimination Chamber, because that's what we're here to talk about is Elimination Chamber. First Elimination Chamber match, the U.S. title match. Austin Theory, the defending champion, faces Seth frickin' Rollins, Johnny Gargano, Bronson Reed, Damian Priest, and Montez Ford. I would say the odds-on favorite, the thing my gut tells me Austin Theory wins this match because they've been really sort of building him back up off after like the kind of mismanagement of the situation with him having the Money in the Bank briefcase. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense for him to drop the title right now where they're continually building him up. But the one kind of curveball I see in this match is Bronson Reed. They've really made him really strong since they brought him back. Um, kind of turning him into a bit of a buzzsaw, a bit of a monster. The way the Elimination Chamber works, somebody has to eliminate him for him to not win the match. So I don't know who in this match could beat Bronson Reed. Are they ready to beat Bronson Reed? Maybe this all building him back up since his return has been to set up Austin Theory beating him to push Austin Theory more. Interesting one. Those are the only 2 I can see winning it. It seems like they're leading towards Seth Rollins and Logan Paul at WrestleMania, so I don't see Rollins winning. Johnny Gargano is probably in there just to help make it a good match. I don't see him winning. Damian Priest, the whole Judgment Day's got a lot of other stuff going on that'll lead to WrestleMania. Montez Ford, I feel like kind of like Johnny Gargano, he's in there to be kind of a showcase guy that'll like help the match be entertaining and fun, but probably not win. He might be a deep dark horse to win it just because they seem to be getting closer and closer to giving him a singles run, a singles push. They're really highlighting him more, but I gotta think somehow Austin Theory retains. The only kind of curveball there is how do you get Bronson Reed out without completely killing his momentum that he's built up since his return? So, gonna go with Theory in that one. Should be fun. A lot of good workers in this match. A lot of good people in this match. I'm sure they'll put on a great show. It'll be fun to watch. The second Elimination Chamber match, Asuka, Liv Morgan, Nikki Cross, Raquel Rodriguez, Natalia, and Carmella. The winner gets a Raw Women's Championship match at WrestleMania, presumably against Bianca Belair. I mean, Asuka's the only one I can see winning that because Asuka versus Bianca at WrestleMania is the only of those one, two, three, four, five, six women. Asuka's the only one I see being on a level to excite people for a WrestleMania match with Bianca Belair. Raquel, they've tried, but they've kind of stopped started with her. She just hasn't gotten all the way there yet. Liv Morgan, I mean, you can do her again. They gave her a little bit of a run earlier this year. Nikki Cross, I don't see her being like a big match for Bianca at Mania. You know, Natalia has been around forever. She's incredibly talented. Carmella just came back, so maybe something there, but that's not. I don't think that's a match people really want to see at WrestleMania. So I would pick Asuka here in that one. We got Edge and Beth Phoenix versus the Judgment Day. Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley with Damian Priest and Dominic Mysterio. I think the Judgment Day has to win this one because I think there's probably going to be an Edge Finn Balor singles match on one of the nights of WrestleMania. So somehow Judgment Day has to win this one to set up the singles match. Rumors have been floating around that it could be a Hell in a Cell match at WrestleMania between those two, which would be awesome, especially if Finn Balor brings back the Demon Finn Balor for that. So seems pretty obvious on that one. You got to have the Judgment Day win to set up the rematch between Edge and Finn Balor down the road at WrestleMania. Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar, singles match, one-on-one, two guys just facing off, two hosses, just going to beat the absolute fire out of each other. It'll be interesting to see what happens here because outside of Reigns, Lesnar's been working a lot more short matches when he's come in. He's kind of either squashed people, there's been some kind of weird twist deal where he gets beat quickly. This is kind of the culmination of their feud. We already know, like I mentioned earlier, that Bray Wyatt has called out the winner of this match as who he wants to face at WrestleMania. And to me, of the two, Lesnar versus Bray Wyatt makes more sense, like as a marquee match. They're the two bigger names. Lashley's not as as good as he's been since he's come back, as good as he's been from time to time. He's not as big of a name as Lesnar. So if you're looking for big name marquee matchups, Wyatt Lesnar makes more sense, I think. But like, there's been like, do people want to work with Bray Wyatt because he's kind of killed momentum for a lot of guys that he worked with before his previous time as the Fiend. Just destroyed Seth Rollins, just ruined Seth Rollins for like a year working with him. That kind of threw me a curveball in this one because I kind of figured Lashley would win to culminate the win, to win off the feud. Lashley's a guy that they can probably have bigger plans with, do more stuff with because Lesnar's, part-time. You're not going to put him back into a title picture anytime soon, probably Lashley. Maybe you'd want to set him up for somebody like whoever comes out of WrestleMania with the title. Lashley is somebody that you could set up them to feud with. So you would think Lashley should win this feud to kind of go to there, but I don't see Lashley versus Bray Wyatt making a whole lot of sense at WrestleMania. Brock Lesnar versus Bray Wyatt, just from a marquee perspective, a big name perspective, makes a lot more sense to me there. So I guess I would predict that Lesnar would win to set that one up, but I don't know. That's a weird one. That's definitely weird. Because I'd love to see Lesnar versus Gunther at WrestleMania. So if like Lesnar loses this and needs an opponent at WrestleMania, Lesnar versus Gunther would be pretty cool. But I don't know. I guess I'll predict based on Bray Wyatt calling out the winner. I guess I'll predict Brock Lesnar's going to win that match. But I have no idea because before tonight I would have guessed Lashley. Because Lesnar's kind of invincible. He can lose matches and just go on to whatever the next thing he is. I mean, he lost the main event at WrestleMania and then just showed back up like 6 months later. It's like, I'm in a main event SummerSlam now. And everybody's like, okay, that's fine. He's pretty invincible in that regard. So he doesn't really have to get wins to set anything up. But they, specifically set up that Bray Wyatt's coming for whoever wins this match. So, I don't know. That one's a weird one to me now. The Bray Wyatt thing threw me for a loop because I thought for sure Wyatt at WrestleMania would either be facing off against Uncle Howdy, or now they're kind of making them look like they're a team, so maybe they'd be a tag team match. Maybe it could be like a weird finish that somehow leads to Lashley and Lesnar as a team versus Bray Wyatt and Uncle Howdy. I don't think that's where they're going to go, but that might actually kind of be cool. We haven't really ever seen Lesnar kind of lined up with anybody like Lesnar and Lashley as like a uh, team just brimming with animosity. Two hosses who just like don't like each other, but they're forced to be together to face a common enemy. That's classic storytelling. That would make a lot. That would be very interesting, very entertaining. But I don't think that's where they're going to go. That doesn't make a whole lot of like. Bray Wyatt very clearly said he wanted the winner. It doesn't. But I don't know. Who knows? That match has gotten me the most confused. I think all the matches on the show pretty much I think have clear cut winners. Like I said, I think Austin Theory wins the U.S. title elimination chamber. I think Asuka wins the women's. Judgment Day wins to set up a later match between Edge and Finn Balor. This one, I thought Lashley was clearly going to win it, but now with that little wrinkle of Bray Wyatt coming for the winner, I'm a little bit confused. I have it a little bit up in the air about who's going to win. I don't know. That one's so confusing to me. But of course, the big one, the main event, Roman Reigns, defending champion versus Sami Zayn for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. The best long-term story WWE has done in years. And once again, it's got a lot of comparisons to the Daniel Bryan situation back in the build-up to WrestleMania 30, where it was kind of not necessarily their plan. It just kind of organically worked out the way it did. But the story's been great. Going back to Sami Zayn wanting to align with the bloodline to redeem himself, to remind everybody how talented he was, how good he was after the embarrassing loss to Johnny Knoxville at last year's WrestleMania. And it's going to be really interesting to see what they do here, because I think we know clearly the plan for pretty much since Cody Rhodes' return was that he was going to eventually get a shot at Roman Reigns, and he was maybe potentially going to be the guy who knocked Roman Reigns off, because they've set him up. Day one, the mission was he came back to win the WWE title. He came back for that. That's all he came back for. They've built him up like a huge superstar ever since he's been back. It's hard to say exactly what the plan was or how it was going to lay it out, because everything got thrown into the mixer when Vince McMahon had to step down and Triple H took over, which is exactly when things really started to turn a corner and get like really, really good for WWE. Sami Zayn was just like a side piece of it, which eventually got big, and they kind of like, you can kind of see where they were going with that. It certainly wasn't for Sami Zayn to be the one to beat Roman Reigns. It seems like it was, I think they probably hoped, and you know, the rumors have suggested they hoped they could have gotten The Rock for this WrestleMania, to have The Rock versus Roman Reigns. And if they'd gotten that, The Rock's not going to beat Roman Reigns, so Roman would have got a few more months with the title, and I think he would have eventually dropped it to Cody SummerSlam next year maybe, or SummerSlam this year maybe, or maybe one of the pay-per-views between now and then, maybe London's Money in the Bank pay-per-view. But The Rock, you know, was not able to do this year's WrestleMania for, you know, whatever reason. So then Cody got the spot. Cody's the guy they've been grooming for this since they brought him back. The Sami thing just got hotter than they ever could have imagined. It's gonna be crazy, because it's in Montreal, Sami Zayn's hometown. The reaction he got tonight for the SmackDown in the same city was unbelievable. It would be an all-time reaction, an all-time pop, if Sami Zayn beat Roman Reigns in Montreal to win the championship. But I just can't see it happening. I can't see it happening here, because you completely derail WrestleMania, because it'd be an awesome moment for the night, for tomorrow night. But Sami Zayn, Cody Rhodes, if that's the main event of WrestleMania, that doesn't, I don't know, what do you do with Roman? So here's what I think is going to happen. And then I'm going to talk about a couple of scenarios that could be alternative scenarios. But what I think is going to happen, they've kind of set up Jey Uso to kind of fill the Sami Zayn role that Sami Zayn filled at Royal Rumble, where he's still sympathetic to Sami Zayn. You know, he's not completely given up on him the way the rest of Roman Reigns and the Bloodline has. So that's his lifeline to the Bloodline. That's his lifeline to staying alive, is his connection to Jey Uso. I think there's a degree to which Sami Zayn hopes, you know, the rest of the Bloodline maybe would even jump to his side over Roman's side. But I think what ultimately happens is Jey Uso stays with the Bloodline, costs Sami Zayn the match against Roman Reigns. We get a full-blown bloodline beatdown of Sami Zayn. Kevin Owens makes his grand return for the first time since the Royal Rumble. Kevin Owens, also from Montreal. You get the huge hometown pop of the two Montreal boys reuniting, give the big hug, the kind of realignment moment, the mega powers unite moment. They get the pop there, sets them up to face the Usos at WrestleMania, kind of gives Montreal a feel good moment, and they kind of hopefully get past the fact that Sami didn't win the title. Roman goes on for his match with Cody at WrestleMania. Sami and Kevin challenge for the tag team titles. They can get the big win at WrestleMania for the tag team titles. Cody can get the big win over Roman Reigns to win the world title at WrestleMania. And then you can come back to Cody, or not Cody, you can come back to Sami and Roman after that. At one of the later pay-per-views, London, Backlash, SummerSlam even. Give Sami the chance to get his big win over Roman Reigns when the title's not involved, when you're not going to be putting the belt on Sami right before WrestleMania, potentially derailing your big WrestleMania plans. You can also then, Sami beats Roman somewhere between now and SummerSlam, and you can set up a big, huge SummerSlam main event of Sami Zayn versus Cody Rhodes. It was, Cody took Sami's moment. Cody took Sami's opportunity. Give Sami a few more months to get built up as like more of a serious character, because he's kind of only in the last month kind of come off being a comedic relief of the bloodline. He's only had like a month or so of being like the real serious, like, I'm trying to redeem myself Sami Zayn. He's, even when he was with the bloodline for the most part, like doing the things he was doing, he was still kind of, it was a bit comic relief that he was a part of it. So you give yourself more time to really establish him as a legit guy, as a legit, top guy. And then by the time SummerSlam rolls around, you could do Cody versus Sami as a huge main event match for one of your biggest shows of the year. So that's the kind of path I think they're going down, because I don't think they're going to divert from Cody versus Roman. I think they know they want to do the Sami KO versus the Usos match. I think that's kind of been the plan for quite some time, so I don't see them diverting from their plans here. Particularly because it's Triple H, Paul Levesque, first WrestleMania, fully in charge, fully booking everything. I think he's laid this plan out. He's had his idea. I don't think he wants to like immediately, like his first WrestleMania in charge, switch things up, change things up, immediately go to like dropping things. So I think he's got his plan, and I think it'll work out. I think it'll be okay. I mean, like, you're not going to get a chance to get that pop you would get in Montreal tomorrow if Sami Zayn wins the title again, because you don't have that. You're not going to have a show in Montreal that has this much of a crescendo to it, but I don't think it'd be smart to sacrifice the longer term, bigger term plans for a big pop on just one night. So I think they'll stick to what the plan has been for the most part. Because I think they can use this as a way to build Sami up even more. And when he does win the championship, it's that much bigger a deal. It's that much more of an earned thing. It's that much more of a special thing. And I think the other part of this is there's a lot of comparisons to this, to the Daniel Bryan situation in the build to WrestleMania 30. But I've heard a lot of people say, and I would agree with this, I don't think you're risking a fan revolt the way the Daniel Bryan one was. The fans just like did not want to see Batista. They did not want to see Batista versus Randy Orton as a WrestleMania main event. They wanted Daniel Bryan. There was also some negativity coming off the Punk walking out. The fans were just like not happy with WWE at that point. And the fans are very happy with WWE right now. You can see it, like, if they were going to turn on stuff, it would have already started with Cody. But Cody's getting as big a reactions, as big a babyface reactions as Sami is. So I think people want to see Cody win as much as they want to see Sami win. So you're kind of in a unique spot where you're not going to have to worry about the fans turning on it. You can do the plan. Sami can lose here. Give them the big emotional reunion of Sami and KO in Montreal. Get that pop. Go on to WrestleMania. Do the two separate things. And then eventually the stories can reconverge when the time comes for Sami to challenge Cody or Sami to beat Roman, and when the title's not in the picture. That's the way I see it going. But I've got a couple alternative situations that could come up if they do decide they need to keep Sami in the Roman Reigns in the title picture going into Mania. The obvious one, is make the main event at WrestleMania a triple threat. I don't like that one. I think Either way, if you want Sammy to get a big moment and win the title, it should be a one-on-one match. So don't make it a triple threat match. Don't, come some snag weird thing where it's like, well, he Sammy pinned Cody, Roman got out of it, which I could see them doing because they've basically made Roman unbeatable for like 2 years now. The other scenario that I think I could almost see happening, but I don't think it will, is if you do two separate title matches because technically they've kept the two belts. They've never fully really seemingly unified the two titles, the Universal title and the WWE Championship. It's always been kind of just like Roman's defended them together since he won both, but he's still carrying the two titles. I think they've always kind of kept it in their back pocket that if they wanted to at some point in time re-split the titles, they could. So you could do something like you have 2 nights of WrestleMania, so you can theoretically do 2 title matches. You could do Roman Cody for the WWE Championship one night, Sammy Roman for the Universal title the second night. I could almost see that happening if they decide they want the title split again and they want to give both guys their moment at Mania. But if you do that, it kind of dulls both the potential cool moments you get. Like if Sami Zayn wins one night and Cody wins the next night, both are kind of nullified. But if just one of them wins at WrestleMania, gets the big win, the first person to finally knock off Roman Reigns, and that's the only match, that's the only one you do, that's the only thing you get is that one person takes down Roman Reigns, that's probably 100 times better than each of them getting their own moment because it kind of each one getting a moment softens what would be a good moment if it was just one. And the way they've built the Sami Zayn storyline up, I think they can have Sami KO versus the Usos be one of the 2 main events. Like they'll probably give one of the women's title matches the main event because that's what they tend to do is do one women's main event, one men's main event. But like if they play their cards right and they set up the tag team match, the 2 biggest matches by far for WrestleMania weekend are going to be the Roman Reigns Cody match and the Usos KO match. I don't know. It's real. That's what makes it so interesting. Is like it seems pretty obvious what they should do. It seems what the best possible solution is, but there's a lot of weird little intricacies, a lot of weird little turns they could take, a lot of little twists they could do. It's gonna be awesome. One way or the other, that main event. The rest of the show's just okay. Like the both elimination chambers should be entertaining. Lashley and Brock Lesnar is gonna be 2 big dudes smashing into each other. Edge is a good worker. Finn Balor's a good worker. Beth Phoenix is good. Rhea Ripley's good. So they'll put on a good show. But just the storyline implications of that Reigns Sami Zayn match is the wildest thing WWE's had in forever. They haven't had this intriguing, this interesting of a storyline in a long time. And particularly this pay-per-view, the February pay-per-view, it's been Elimination Chamber for the last, little bit. It's kind of been just like a dead squib, a dead rubber of a pay-per-view because you kind of already knew what the WrestleMania stuff was going to be. They just threw something in there to kind of fill that gap from January to April between Rumble and Mania. It was never really a show that had huge intrigue because the road to WrestleMania was kind of already set. You didn't really have. But this one, I mean, that main event, the possibilities of what could happen, it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it. The other thing tomorrow, we also have New Japan Wrestling in JPW, Battle in the Valley, an America show, a New Japan show being based in America from San Jose. I believe that starts around like 9 o'clock Central my time, so it'll be on towards the latter part of the Royal Rumble, so might be watching both simultaneously. I don't know if I'm going to watch Battle in the Valley yet. It's a decent card, but it's Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, as she's now known's first match outside of WWE. She's taking on another former WWE women's wrestler in Kairi Sane for the IWGP Women's title, so that's intriguing. The main event is Kushida Okada versus Tanahashi for the IWGP Heavyweight title. Those 2 guys have a long history of just nothing but incredible, awesome matches. Tanahashi's a little bit older now, but I don't think there's any chance that match is anything less than spectacular. it'll be a really good show match wise, but it's not the same, you know, intrigue, the craziness of what in the world could possibly happen to set up WrestleMania there. And I think that's the biggest thing WWE has done to really improve is just making everything seem so much bigger, so much more important, so much more serious. They got rid of all the stupid, goofy, jokey stuff. Like Sami Zayn's the greatest example. Last year, comedy match, stunt, pop up, jackass match against Johnny Knoxville, and now he's like a legit, serious, motivated babyface chasing the championship. And it's crazy how, like, once again, I've been talking to my friends who also watch wrestling about how crazy it is how big of a corner WWE turned. Because, like, it it was at times over the last, like, 4 or 5 years getting to the point where it's borderline unwatchable. And now it's almost like I can't miss it. Like, I've got to watch every SmackDown, I got to watch every Raw because it's been so good. And it's weird because at the same time, I don't know, like, if it's just the way the world works, but AEW's not unwatchable. It's not bad, but it's just not interesting the way it was like 2 years ago. Like you can tune into Dynamite on Wednesday night for AEW, and you know it's going to be an entertaining show. There's going to be good matches, entertaining stuff. People will cut good promos, but they're missing something now. They just don't have. I don't even know what they're missing. They're missing a hook. Like Cody being back and being so over in WWE is a huge hook. The whole Sami Zayn thing is a huge hook. And AEW's got tons of really, really good people. MJF, their champion, he's awesome. His promos are great. He's good in the ring. The match, he's got an Iron Man match coming up on their pay per view against Bryan Danielson for the AEW championship. And like, I'm sure that match will be freaking awesome. I'm sure those two guys will put on a clinic for an hour. But I'm like, I don't think there's any chance Bryan Danielson beats him. You know, MJF is, you know, going to hold the title for a while there because there's no, you know, he's probably the best thing they got going, but they're just missing something. Dave Meltzer's talked a lot recently about how they need a new top baby face that people get behind to chase MJF, and that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that's totally seems like something that they're missing right now because it's like everybody loves Bryan Danielson, everybody's a big fan of him, but he's not what he was in the build to WrestleMania 30 where the crowd's just like desperate to see him win the championship, you know. Everybody's just, I think he's at a point in his career where he's really good. People want to see him have really good matches. People want to see him, but they're not going to like care if he wins or loses or if he's the champion or if he's not. And they don't really have that person. So I think that's right, that's a big part of it is they don't have the key baby face that the fans are getting behind. But I don't know, just it's weird. Like going back to All Out last year after the fallout with the CM Punk brawl out situation, since the Bucks and Omega came back, they just haven't seemed the same. Like they don't seem like they're putting on good shows, they're putting on good matches, but they're just not. Those three guys just have a different vibe. Like Kenny was so, the Kenny we saw in his promos, in his video packages, in his match, in his even the way he dressed and came to the ring for the match against Will Ospreay hasn't been seen in AEW in 2 years. The Bucks, who were like unquestionably the best tag team in the world for years, they just, I don't know if them being together in a trio is a bad idea, like, because it takes away from what they can do on their own. Or I don't know if like maybe like they're even kind of checked out. There's rumors that all three of them are like not have much longer on their contracts with AEW and could even consider going to WWE. So maybe they're checked out. Maybe everybody's just checked out, not having the same vibes, the same energy, the same dedication to AEW. Where like when it started, everybody was like, pardon the pun, all in, like dedicated to doing it. I don't know. There's just something weird in the air around AEW. Like the shows are still good, they're still fun to watch, but I'm not getting excited about AEW the way I was for the first few years that it was around. Something's just gotten lost somewhere there, and I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but it's crazy to me. If you told me a year ago you're going to be 100 times more excited for Elimination Chamber than you're going to be for AEW Revolution, I wouldn't have believed you because AEW's just knocked it out of the park from the get go out of their first like 2 years, and WWE was borderline unwatchable. But that's where we're at now. Revolution, I'm gonna watch it. There's no doubt I'm gonna watch it. But like I said, Danielson MJF's gonna be an awesome match. There's a Texas Death Match between Adam Page and Moxley that'll be good. But those two guys, this is gonna be their fourth time wrestling in like the last 3 months. AEW used to never do rematches. It used to be always like all fresh matches, all new stuff. If somebody lost, they moved on to the next thing. They didn't like just dwell on doing the same match over and over again. And now you're going to get Moxley versus Adam Page. Granted, it's going to be a Texas Death Match. It'll be different. All the matches have been good, entertaining to watch. But once again, it's like I'm not that intrigued or interested to see a fourth John Moxley Adam Page match. Like the first one was cut short because Page got a concussion. Second one that came back was a good match. Third one came back was once again a good match. Now we have to have a fourth one within the short time span. It's just like that's I don't know something to that. They've been doing a lot more rematches. The Acclaimed are getting a tag team title rematch, so they're invoking the rematch clause, which that used not to be a thing in AEW's rematch clauses. You lost, you moved on. I think the fact they never really they had a chance to do something really cool if they'd made another FTR Bucks match when the FTR had all the titles but the AEW tag team title, and now FTR's dropped all their belts. Dax Harwood's injured and out, so they never capitalized on the momentum they had there with that. I don't know. I'm just rambling at this point in time, but there's just something weird, some weird vibe. Something's just changed with AEW where it's still fun to watch, still entertaining shows, but like the level of intrigue and excitement I have for it has dwindled greatly. I don't know. Looking forward to Elimination Chamber tomorrow night. I think, like I said, New Japan Battle in the Valley should be entertaining too. Probably watch both simultaneously. Richard Greenberg in the chat says, can we talk about the great Johnny Cash Black Nashville SC jersey? It's awesome. You are correct, sir. It is awesome. I pre-ordered mine. We have a big Men in Black Nashville SC Festival tomorrow here in Nashville. I will be in attendance for that to pick up my Man in Black Nashville SC jersey, to see all the sights, to see all the festivities that Nashville SC is putting on tomorrow, to release the jersey and also kind of kick off the season. So I'm excited for that. I'll have a vlog from that that'll be up on the channel soon after that event. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel with the bell turned on for notifications, so you see that and all future stuff. The She Believes Cup is in Nashville Sunday. I will be at that doubleheader. I believe we have USA versus Japan and Brazil versus Canada. I could have those matchups mixed up, but 2 matches at Geodis Park on Sunday. Kind of the final tune-up, final big setup before the Women's World Cup later this year. That's exciting. The first national team games being held at Geodis Park. There'll be a vlog from that. And, we're talking about the Men in Black. The Men in Black jersey. We are 1 week away from Nashville SC's season kickoff home opener, Geodis Park, February 25th against NYCFC. They will be wearing the Men in Black jerseys for that game. They're planning to try and get a blackout of Geodis Park. That'll be exciting. There will be a vlog from that. Couple comments coming in here. Richard says, they say Vince wants $9 billion for WWE. It's currently worth about $6.5 billion. Getting closer to 1,000 subscribers that you can monetize your channel. Yeah, we're at I think 938 last time I checked. So 60ish away from 1,000. That's when you monetize it. But I just do this to like have fun and keep myself occupied. I'm not like trying to turn this into a career or make any money off it. But 1,000 subscribers be insane, just because like I fully expected when I started this channel for it to be like my 3 friends and occasionally my wife watching the videos. So the fact that 1,000 people subscribe to this, or that we're close to having 1,000 subscribers, is absolutely insane. Yeah, $9 billion for WWE. That's interesting. Like, I don't know how much of that is true. How much of that is like, sometimes you see it, if you follow soccer, especially European soccer, teams will leak out a number that they want for a transfer just to kind of up the value. So I don't know. 9 million seems insane when you think like UFC sold for 4 billion just a few years back. So I would think the 6.5, 7 billion range. And like a higher number would make more sense if it was like a network buying it because then they would get out of having to ever pay the rights fees. Like if Comcast Universal bought it, it would make a lot of sense for them to spend a little bit more because then they're not having to pay the multi-year billions to $1 million contracts to keep the product on their screens. They just own it. I don't really see like an outside company paying for that. But if this is one of those things where like the live rights fees keep going up and they keep being profitable, it could be a situation where WWE is more valuable than what we know right now. So we'll see. It's gonna be really interesting to see what happens with that. Richard Greenberg said, "I think Endeavor, who owns UFC, will buy WWE. I think they're one of. I think there's four strong candidates for it. I think Endeavor is one, just because they're kind of already in that marketplace with UFC. It'd make a lot of sense from that perspective. Comcast Universal makes a lot of sense to me just because they put so much WWE content out there to be able to cut out having to pay the rights fees for that and to just own it outright would make a lot of sense. But they've recently been some reports that they're not interested. Maybe it's if it is going for 9 billion, that's too rich for their blood. Maybe Disney, but it seems now like everything that Bob Iger said since he came back in seems like Disney is in like cost cutting mode. So I can't see them doing another massive, huge acquisition, at least not right now. Like if WWE held on for another year or two until Disney kind of righted the ship from the issues Bob Chapek caused, maybe then Bob Iger would want to get one last big acquisition on his resume after he brought in Lucasfilm and Marvel to the Disney fold and the Muppets and Pixar. But Disney's kind of an outside candidate. I don't really see it because also it's like the WWE and Disney just seems to be like kind of a clash. I think that Disney is just such a big entity that anything something like this is on the table, people are going to link them to that. And then obviously the one I did a whole video of it a while back, Saudi Arabia, Middle Eastern oil tycoons, the governments, the entities that control the money there, they're looking to acquire so many properties from this part of the world, from Europe, to get their I don't want to say propaganda, but to get their to clean up their image. Huge, breaking news today. I'm a Manchester United supporter. They got a huge bid to be bought by some pieces of Qatari, which is weird. It's a weird situation because Qatar seemingly owns Paris Saint Germain, but somehow this other entity from Qatar is separate from that, but is now bidding for Manchester United. But also Jim Radcliffe, a longtime Manchester United fan who's a tech billionaire, is bidding for Manchester United. So the Saudi Arabia is in there, but it seems like Comcast is fading. I don't really see Disney, so it could be. I think there's four: Comcast, Disney, Endeavor, and Saudi Arabia. But now it's probably seems more and more like there's only going to be two: Endeavor and Saudi Arabia, who are really going to push for it. But I mean, Vince wants 9 billion, and it comes down to a bidding war. This is the thing I was telling a buddy of mine. He's like, "Do you want Qatar to buy Manchester United?" I was like, I really don't want that, kind of bad association with the club. Obviously, I would love the billions upon billions of dollars of you know, ending resources behind the team, but I don't want the negativity that comes with being owned by an oppressive regime, a place like that. And I don't want that attached to WWE either, but at the end of the day, money talks. So, I mean, nobody's going to have more money in these bids and these offers than those Middle Eastern representatives. So it's going to come down to, with both Manchester United and WWE, how much do those people really want to spend, and is there any kind of decision making at the top of those organizations? Like, do we have any morals when it comes to what bid we accept, or we just take the most money possible? Both are going to be interesting to watch. It's very interesting to see two things that I'm very passionate about, kind of in a very similar spot at the same time with WWE and Manchester United. Richard says, I can see Disney if they spin off ESPN to merge with WWE. Hate countries owning EPL clubs. I'd agree with both. That's going to be the most interesting thing. Like that, as I'm a big Disney fan too. So like all this stuff is all converging all at the same time. Like all of my different interests like seem to be like all in the same pool all of a sudden. And the ESPN has been a big talking point for the Disney situation because they've got so much money tied up in the rights fees that they've paid to leagues, and they're not making as much money as they were in the early days when ESPN really kind of was an early thing that elevated Disney when Disney acquired the ABC, Capital Communications. I believe it was the overall brand company that it was at the time. And now ESPN's almost become like an albatross around their neck that they're going to have to figure out something to do with. And countries on the EPL, I mean, it sucks. We got Saudi Arabia basically owns Newcastle. We've got I can't even remember what country it is. Dubai who owns Manchester City. We've got Qatar who owns PSG. It's corrupt. It's not right. You know I hate it, but I mean you can't do anything about it. You got the whole live tour situation in golf. It's become such a complicated thing. It's not something that I fan on. I definitely don't want the Qatari bid to be the one that ultimately gets Manchester United. I definitely don't want Saudi Arabia to buy WWE, but I don't think there's any other way to say it other than like money talks, and unless somebody at the top of the food chain of those two organizations decides that they're gonna, take a stance with their morality and not necessarily take the highest bid, or if I don't know if there's a scenario where like they could price out. I mean, like the countries have all the money they want, so if they want something, they're gonna get it, unless somebody just says, hey, let's let our morals take precedent here. Let's sell somebody like I don't know. We'll see. It's all very interesting. There's so much going on in the ring. There's so much going on the field. There's so much going on just outside of everything. It's all going to be really, really, really interesting to watch over the next few months how all these things play out, both, on screen, behind the scenes. A lot is happening in the things that I'm very interested in. It's a good time for me to have this YouTube channel where I can come on here and vent and just ramble and talk about stuff like this. So thanks for watching. Thanks for following along. We'll be back soon with more content. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel with the bell turned on for notifications. Good night. We'll be watching Elimination Chamber tomorrow.